It's the Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson. I'm here with my wife and mum to our 6 daughters, Kylie, Mrs. Happy Families. Say hi, Kylie.
Hello.
Today it's I'll Do Better Tomorrow. You're so good. I'll Do Better Tomorrow is the day where we analyse the week that was. We try to work out how we're going with this parenting business, this parenting thing, and see how we can do better moving forward. I'm going to go first today, Kylie, because mine's it's one of those ones. Yeah, it's one of those. I love how you're mocking me already.
I'm not mocking you. I feel the heaviness.
Well, you got stuck into me, I don't know, yesterday, the day before, maybe it was this morning. I can't remember. I get confused on what day things happen a lot. But one of our kids is just driving me up the wall. I'm just going to say it. It's our 14-year-old. 5th 14-year-old. Seriously, like how many times do we have to go through this 14 age gap once more, obviously.
Another one
after
time.
this one. But we're still in it with child number 5. And I've had a remembrance. I've realised this many times. You know when you're looking to buy a new car and you think, oh, that's a nice car. I haven't seen those around before. And then you start to see them everywhere. It's like everyone has bought that car. You think, my goodness, where were they all? I've only just discovered them because you've really just started looking at it yourself. It's that whole you find what you're looking for. Am I saying that the right way? Help me out here. You know, when you spot what you see now, you find what you're looking for. And the 14-year-old's just been annoying me ongoingly to the point where I'm almost pre-agitated. If I walk into the room and I know she's there, I'm already annoyed before she even does anything. Does that make sense? Do you ever get that with me?
I remained silent.
And so I walked into the room the other day. She hadn't done anything, but that was kind of the issue, right? She hadn't done anything and the room was a mess. And I said, seriously? And lately...
It's amazing how our brains work. They literally look for proof to validate whatever it is we're thinking.
And lately, something that's really been on my mind is just how much I want our daughters to be living a life like we had when we were kids, which means no screens, lots of time outside, exploring, time with friends, lots of freedom, totally different to what the world in 2024 has been. And I walked into the room and she was on a screen and she was sitting there and it was messy. And the line that I've actually used more times than I would like to admit is, you're just not a participant in life. I think I've used that line maybe 10 times over the last couple of weeks. I looked at her, she met my eyes, and as her eyes started to light up, because here's Dad and he's in my space and maybe I'm going to get a hug or maybe we're going to have a nice interaction, I growled at her and my eyes went hard and I said, you are such a non-participant in life. Look at the mess of the room and you're sitting there on your screen and it's whatever time of the morning it was, like it was well and truly time to be out of your pajamas and getting on with things, and you're not a participant in life. And then she said something snarky at me and the light from her eyes disappeared and I retaliated with something snarkier back because I'm the parent and I know better and I'm observing this and you're arguing with me about something that you don't know anything about, and it kind of escalated from there. And it didn't get any worse than that, but it was snarky. It was backwards and forwards. And I just thought, far out. I've got a PhD in psychology. I write parenting books for a living and I've just gone and done this. And you were in the room next to us. And as I walked out of that room and walked into the office so that I could just breathe a little bit and distract myself and try to recalibrate, you, Mrs. Happy Families, walked into the room and you were not Mrs. Happy Families. You gave it to me. Do you have any idea what you say to these girls? Do you know what's coming out of your mouth? Have you listened to how, and you gave me the whole correction and direction versus connection, the bucket spiel, you know, the whole thing where
I might have asked you how your bucket was looking.
Yeah, there's a relationship that you have and it's a bucket and the water in the bucket is the connection and the air in the bucket is the correction and direction. And you quite quickly pointed out to me that there was no water in my relationship bucket with our 14-year-old daughter.
A whole heap of hot air.
Yeah, and what's the point of carrying a bucket full of air, whether it's hot or cold?
J?
No point. I can't believe you just gave me the Dr. J business. So my I'll Do Better Tomorrow is this. What you're looking for, you find. And for whatever reason, over the last week or so, I've had it in my mind that this kid is not actively participating in life, and therefore any skerrick of evidence that supports me, I feel obliged to point out to her, to highlight for her, to demonstrate her inadequacies and incompetencies around it, as if that's going to motivate her, as if making her feel worse about things is going to make her feel better about life or move her into a better space.
The two most damaging words in any relationship, always and never.
So you should never say never or always? Is that what you're saying?
When we're looking for proof, it's you always do this or you never do that. And the damage that it does to a relationship, because you're always looking for proof to prove your point.
Well, I like that. But I didn't say always or never. I just said you're not a participant in life.
No.
Not helpful. Not helpful.
After I had a conversation with you, I might have had a conversation with our 14-year-old.
Oh, I don't know about this.
And she said, he always does this and he never does that.
Ah.
And I just said to her, I said, well, I've sat there and I've spoken to Dad and I've told him what needs to happen to make things better. Right. I said, but it goes both ways. I said, you're giving me a big, long list of all the things he does wrong, but I think you're missing all of the good things that exist in your relationship. She went really quiet. And I think it's really important for us, whether it's a parent-child relationship or partnered relationship or even just a friendship. We can always find something to grumble about, but we miss the richness of relationships if that's all we see.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I remember my favourite story of all time when it comes to parenting, and it's not a parenting story at all. It's the one about the young man who hears about the gold rush and races out, gets his pan, sits down by the river and starts panning for gold. And all he finds is these rocks. Every now and again, he'll crack a rock open and see some gold flecks in them, but he's certainly not getting the nuggets that he's hearing about everyone else finding. As he's packing up and getting ready to go home, destitute, despondent, and looking like he's going to have to move back in with the parents while he tries to reestablish himself in life, a wealthy prospector walks past and points out the pile of rocks, comments on how big it is, and when the young man scoffs and says, I came here looking for gold and there is none, the prospector picks up one of those rocks, cracks it open and points to the gold flecks. The young man says, I don't want gold flecks. I want nuggets like you've got in your pouch. And the prospector's wearing a pouch bulging with gold on his waist. And the prospector opens the top of the pouch and the young man looks in only to discover that there are no nuggets in there. It's just thousands and thousands of tiny flecks of gold. The prospector says to the young man, son, it's the steady accumulation of these flecks of gold that has made me wealthy. In family life, it is dirty and it's rocky and it's messy, and our 14-year-olds have attitude and sometimes they don't participate in life enough. And the more you point it out, the more of it you'll see and the more of it will come up in your life. But what I discovered after you had that stern talking to with me is that kid's actually a real delight. And I spent some time with her and it was so much fun. We laughed and we played and we hugged and we wrestled and we talked, and I just saw those gold flecks. In fact, I reckon there was a nugget or two floating down that river of the relationship of our life, and it felt really good. So my older better tomorrow is really simple. Whatever you look for is what you'll find. Oh, that's what I was trying to say at the start. Whatever you look for is what you'll find. And as you look for the gold flecks, you'll find that the river of your relationship with your children is literally teeming with them. That's my older better tomorrow, Mrs. Happy Families. How's that for inspiration? What's yours?
So a couple of weeks ago, you and I attended the charity event for Fathers of All Girls.
Fathers of Girls, that's right.
And I shared the speech that I gave on the podcast.
Yeah, and we got some gorgeous feedback. I shared it on Facebook. Like, people are literally saying, I listened to that episode and cried in my car. I needed a content warning or a tissue warning or something. I nearly had a crash.
But the most important thing that came out of that process was just this acknowledgement that our kids are desperate for time with us. And so over the last few weeks since that, I've been really trying hard. And the challenge I have, as lots of parents have, is the more children you have, the harder it is to split yourself between each of them. We've got a married daughter who's desperate for my time. And then we've got a child who's overseas who rings us at all kinds of crazy hours because she's desperate for our time. And then we've got another daughter who's, working and trying to kind of sort things out, and she's desperate for our time. And then I've got these 3 little girls who are at home who are desperate for my time. And it's really hard sometimes to juggle it all.
Hang on, you forgot one.
You're desperate for my time. And it's really hard sometimes to juggle it. But having shared those thoughts with all of those men a few weeks back, it really just reiterated to me just how important it is for us to make the effort to be intentional about that time. And so over the last few weeks, I've really been intentional about making time to go and spend with our children, just to walk along the beach, go get an ice cream cone, a swim in the pool when it's pouring with rain. Just spending some one-on-one time with each of our children makes such a difference to the way they see the world. I honestly think it alters the way they see their world when we make an effort to spend time with them.
Yeah. Kids spell love T.I.M.E.
That's me. That's it.
Really simple. It's a regular reminder that we share on the podcast. And yet it's one of those things that you kind of can't hear it enough because we get so caught up with so much other stuff.
Especially at the end of we're coming to the end of the year. This is crazyville time. Everybody feels more stretched than ever, and our kids can literally be forgotten in the process because there's just so much to do.
Yeah, well, there's some inspiration. Kids spell love T.I.M.E. and you find what you're looking for. Hopefully that'll help you to have a better weekend with your kids. Hope that you can do better tomorrow. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. More information about making your family happier is available on our social media pages, but especially at happyfamilies.com.au.